And welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. June 7th, we are back. Kind of an open-ended day today. We actually wanted to talk about something that happened yesterday, some stuff on Facebook, some posts kind of surrounding North Central PA, the Midday Show, and just kind of talk about like what it is we're doing, some of the things that we offer. And even I think what's going to end up happening is I think it's going to turn into a conversation about social media and people posting and just a different time and how you confront people is so different now than what it used to be. And then we'll bounce around some trending topics. I threw the finals down there on the end because we haven't talked about it since game two. So I do want to wrap up the show with a little bit of that. Before we get to all of that good stuff, Mark, you have on the summertime polo today. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, you know what? I feel good. I knew it was going to be a gloomy day, and I was like, well, I don't say always get chastised, but I pretty much wear dark. And this is like I have like I have a red one, and then I have this one. So every now and then I break it out. And since I knew today was going to be gloomy, I figured I'd go bright. And so there you go. How do I feel other than bright? Is Montoursville got a big playoff win yesterday, so I was happy about that. And then Edmonton,
congratulations.
And Canada lost yesterday and was eliminated from the NHL playoffs. So as far as I'm concerned, the NHL playoffs are over. I know locally it was a really good day. I think without Montoursville boys won. I think who am I missing here off the top of my head? I think the Central Mountain girls won. I think the Montgomery girls won. I know both. I think the Williamsport girls won. And I know both South Williamsport boys, the baseball team and the softball team won. So even like right here in Lycoming County, Central Mountains, obviously not in Lycoming County, but it was a good baseball day for District 4. Good baseball softball day, I should say.
Charlie said Waynesport girls won as well.
Yeah, I think if I didn't say them, I meant to.
Yeah.
I think the two baseball teams, I think Montoursville and Williamsport won in baseball. And I thought Montgomery, Central Mountain, South Williamsport, and Williamsport all won on the softball side. So, it's a good little run. There's much better baseball, softball here in Central PA than people think.
Well, let's start here. Let's start with some things at North Central PA. We are going to do the Father's Day contest the same way we did the Mother's Day contest. For those who remember, we did NCPA Mom for the Day. People submitted. They were able to say, here's why my mom should win. I believe we did a night stay at the Genetti. We did some solar tanning gift cards.
And they got a gift card to eat. I think they're at Windows, which is right there at the Genetti as well. Say awesome. A night stay at the Genetti. It was a nice little prize package.
So we're going to
guys. I was going to say we're going to do something similar, and I could give a solar sun tanning to the guys, even though that's maybe a little sexist or gender.
Some would like it.
They might. I don't know. We'll try throwing like a round of golf or tickets to a racetrack or something like that. But we're going to. I think our winner on from the Mother's Day one. I think she was from Danville. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's where we ended up with like a top 3. We gave out some prizes. We gave out some secondary prizes too, because it's just like you send in an essay and or an essay, an email basically, and say like why you think your dad should win. And fortunately for everyone, I am ineligible, so it gives everyone a chance. Because if we were doing like Dad of the Year, I mean, everyone would be playing for second place.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for the Father's Day. It'll be the same process as the Mother's Day one. You just have to submit kind of a paragraph about why they should be the winner. It lays out what you need to respond to. Some of the other stuff we just started, we actually, and maybe we'll have Jerry on later this week to kind of walk us through it. We actually struck a deal with the AP. So we actually have Associated Press material now at North Central PA. You can go to the website, NorthcentralPa.com, to find it, or you can join one of our Facebook groups so that it just pops up on your feed like you find most of our news. And that's a big deal, mostly because like we don't do paywalls. We don't necessarily have subscriptions. So we are able to give this information almost for essentially, I want to say free, thanks to our advertisers and our sponsors.
Yeah, we're just like every other local newspaper. still had national stories on it. And whether it be national sports or, national news, and all the time the tagline would say from the Associated Press, because that's how it ran. And obviously the newspaper, the hard copy newspaper industry has been struggling ever since the internet showed up. And so we understand that people come to our site for local news, anywhere throughout our region that we cover it. We feel as well as anyone. We feel better than everyone. So, but now you also, just because, there's stories coming from all of it. It's why we watch nightly news, and it's why we care about, stuff that happens throughout the country. And you'll be able to find that as well on our site. So for the people who don't care, who just want to, come here, and if you're looking for national news, they go to ABC or CNN or Fox or something like that. Obviously, they still can, but we become much more of a, once you're there clicking, you can keep clicking, and it's, we all have varied interests, and I think it makes our site better. It makes it easier for, the beauty of it is it makes it easier for our readers. It kind of, gives them a chance to be more enlightened in one stop. And as you mentioned before, the big thing is there's no paywall. So
Yes.
You can just come to the site and peruse whatever news is interesting to you. So we're happy about it. We're proud of it. It just kind of shows how, I don't say it's like shown that we've grown up, but it has shown how far that the site has come, and that we are now kind of like big enough to do it. So,
some neat stuff we have coming up. We were bummed out Monday. Leo's Pizza kind of threw us under the bus a little bit after we had Mark on the show. I thought Mark was our guy. I was kind of bummed out about it.
Well, I didn't see it. It came to my attention after you guys started sharing it.
Yeah.
I guess there. Yeah, I don't even know where to begin with this.
I'll start. I saw the post. I saw the post. He, kind of threw us under the bus a little bit. So I responded very politely, and I just said, "Hey, everyone, here's a link to the video where Mark came on the show and talked about all the things he's done in the community and pizza for almost an hour." And Mark didn't even like that. So I guess, I don't know. It's funny how it's not even about being like, it's not about being thankful. It's not, you and I actually found it kind of funny. Like we were kind of laughing at it because it's just so out of left field. We weren't expecting it. But I do think it is funny. I think there's this idea that there's, what do we report? When do we report it? How do we pick and choose all this stuff? And I can see how people sometimes might think there's a vendetta, like we're trying to find this stuff to like badmouth people. But honestly, like a lot of the times it's informational. Like we see something happening and it's just, can we share it or write something up where we can just give the information out? So I thought yesterday was kind of it was a weird moment where like someone came in. It was because, again, we're new to this. We just started. The show's not even 2 years old. It was one of those weird things where we haven't had a lot of guests on. Mark comes on the show. I thought he enjoyed himself. I thought it went well. I thought we talked about all the good things he was doing in the community. And then I turned on my phone and I guess it wasn't enough from what I had seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon for anything news publicly to get criticized. And we don't get it every day. We don't get our email box isn't full of criticisms, but every now and then we'll be in the office and people are like, "Oh, did you see that person was a little pissed off?" And so it's not uncommon. So when this comes up and you're like, "Hey, did you see who was mad?" And you're just like, there's a curiosity and you kind of brace yourself. You're like, "No, who?" And they're like, "Leo's Pizza." And immediately they're like, "Wait a minute, what? Why?" So what happened was, I guess they're closing the store in Lock Haven. It's one of the things when he was on with us, he was talking about them opening the store in Lock Haven. So, in the world, in the market, whatever all these things are, running businesses is hard. And I could go into a long story about that. But I had a buddy who is now, God, he's got to be 60. And when he was 24, as I digress, when he was 24, he had a video store. Like before Blockbuster Video, he had a video store, and he told me, he's like, I was making money hand over fist. He said, I was 24 years old. I was driving a Corvette. I was making $200,000+ a year. And he goes in, and then he ended up business went really bad because he's like, if one store's great, then 8 stores will be awesome. And he's like, you find out some locations are better than others depending on whatever happened. And so anyway, so long story short, Leo's tried to open another location in Lock Haven, and they're closing. And he posted that on his own website or on his own Facebook page that said they're closing. Right. And we kind of took the public information off his Facebook page and just wrote it up that it's closing. And it struck a nerve with him, and Mr. Leo's Pizza said
that or he's ingenious, because now guess what we're talking about?
We're talking about him. Yeah, and it's true. We're talking
about Leo's Pizza today. So I don't know. There's a game to it for sure. Would you agree that there's definitely a game to this?
Probably. But he said that like we don't say anything that's ever good about them or anybody else. And like right away, what made us laugh was like, we've said a lot of good things about Leo's Pizza. We wrote an article about him when they moved to Williamsport that was huge and was long. And then we had them all. We've had some nonprofit businesses on. We talked about that.
Yeah.
We had Jen Wilson from the community foundation,
Your point is for-profit businesses have been very few and far between on this show.
Yes. As I stammer through that, I think we've had 2.
Not a lot.
And one of them was Leo's. And the reason we had him on was because of his charitable stuff in the community. And we kind of opened the floor and we spent the whole time talking about it. So for him to criticize us and say that we never talk about anything good when we actually had him in the studio to talk about what he did that was good. The only thing I could compare it to is that it's like hearing a rumor about you and you're like, well, that wasn't true. I wasn't even there. And if you've ever heard a rumor about you and someone's like, yeah, I heard, and you're just like, nope, I wasn't there. And then, so that's it. Cause he's like, we never say anything good about any of the other stuff. And we're like, not only did we say it about you, we let you say it about you. We let you sat here on the couch.
Yeah. I think this goes into a fascinating conversation, kind of not about gossip, but about social media in general, because today the conversation was kind of like, do we come on and talk about it? Like, do we not necessarily defend ourselves, but like, do you mention it? Do you bring it up? Because as he posted it, I think it got up to like 350 likes. Because one of the things that not only are they good at making pizza, one of the things that he's very clearly good at, I think the Facebook page is up to like 10,000 followers. Like, he knows how to social media market and how to use it to his advantage. So one of the things was kind of like, do we defend ourselves? Like, do we come on and talk about it? Like, what is in 2022, what is the protocol of like a social media when someone posts something that you disagree with, or if someone posts something that you don't necessarily agree with, do you defend yourself? Do you just remain quiet? Do you, like, what do you do? So you and I were trying to kind of figure that out. Like, how do you respond to something like that?
Well, there's the point. And first of all, we would love to have him back on to give it.
If he came on right now, I would be thrilled, because I would laugh and just be like, Mark, like, what's the deal? Like, what happened?
But there's a difference between saying something you don't agree with.
Okay.
And saying something that's just absolutely a lie. And when he came on and said, we never say anything good about, and I should have the post in front of me. Well, since then he's taken the post down, which anytime you take a post down is indicative of something. But to say that we never say anything good about anything or any of the work they do in the community, when he clearly did, I mean, you posted the link. You can go back through and find it. You can go back through and find the article. He has gotten, for a profit business, who, by the way, has never spent a dime in advertising with us. It's not like we did this because he bought an ad package and we're like, hey, we'll say good things about it. So, like, it's just, it's just false. So I don't know. I would love to hear. And one of the other things about, because the way the world is, there was a time in life that you could just go out and say this and say, well, they never did anything. And you could get away with it because who was going to prove you wrong? Except that you saw it and you posted the link and you're like, well, as a matter of fact, you're wrong. So,
and by the way, not to be like, and I meant like it wasn't to be a jerk. Like it was just kind of like, hey, Mark, like just as a reminder, thanks for coming on. You know, like there was nothing cruel about it. Like it was just kind of like, hey, like I did appreciate you coming on, and here's the link if anybody wants to see it. So I don't
anyway,
know.
I don't know. It's weird. It to me the equation I equated it to hearing a rumor about yourself that's not true. North Central never says anything good about it. Actually, we do all the time. But one of our things in as we're reporting for the local community, one of the things that the local community loves is new businesses opening and old businesses closing.
Yeah.
When it's about the mall, when it was about what Country Cupboard, when it was about Shop Vac, like we have covered lots of businesses that close, and whether there's an anger to it from the community, where there's a sentimentality to it to the community, it's part of the news cycle, but again, we got it off he announced it. And we just took all the information that he announced.
Yeah.
So
no, I'm with you. That's why I said there is a small part. I agree with you. I would love to have him back on because I do think there's some gamesmanship. Like I said, we just spent 10 minutes talking about Leo's Pizza. So if this is a game, I would argue he's winning. I'd like to think like me posting the link yesterday to the video maybe gave us like half a point, but I would argue like he certainly returned serve. Like, because we're talking about Leo's Pizza today for 10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I think there's an aspect, and you're right. There's as we just had Jamie Flick on yesterday, and he said, as people, we're not going to do negative ads. And he's like, when people say things about you that are untrue, and Jamie's like, nope, we're letting it go. We're just going to be positive, and they won. So I don't know if we should come on. I guess the funny thing.
But this is the thing. I don't think we're saying anything negative. I think we're just talking about like from our perspective what happened. And again, that's why I said to you, like, I would love to just have Mark come on so I could just be like, so Mark, like, what happened? Like,
well, that's the thing too. Like what makes maybe this is why we're odd. But like when we saw this, neither of us got mad. We kind of laughed and thought, like, what in the world is going on? So I don't know. It's
the best part was I had a friend who was showing me who liked the post. And so the best part is like I had family members, I had friends, I had people in my life who very much know that I'm a part of this who were liking the Joe's post. And so they're showing me this, and I'm like, yeah, like, what are you gonna do? Like, that's social media for you. Like, someone posts something and people want to support you, so they jump on board with whatever it is you're saying. And sometimes you don't even stop to think, like, how true might it be? So I don't know.
Well,
I found the whole thing very, very comical yesterday.
Well, and I could say this: when you talk about supporting someone, especially when they're angry, like if you've ever been around youth sports, and you've got and from the coaching aspect, you know how this goes, that some angry parents like, my kid should be playing more. And then one of the other parents is like, yeah, absolutely. If I was the coach, your kid would play more. And then they walk away and they're like, that kid shouldn't play at all. So there's lots of things that people will support and be like, yep, I agree with you. Yeah. And then they walk away and they're like, that guy's out of his mind. So, yeah. So anyway,
I'm with you.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was shocking. I don't understand.
Charlie, when you post on social media, it's fair play. Expect the good and the bad. I think that's fair. I think that's very, very fair.
Oh, yeah. You don't want any. I love it, too. This is one of the. God.
I think a lot of people post expecting only the good, but they never comprehend maybe like the bad that could come out of it. So then when there is bad, they're kind of like thrown off. Like, wait a second, like this was not the plan. This is not. So I agree with that. Like, I think once you post something, I think it's fair play.
Well, yeah, first of all, I don't even think that, again, all we did was re-report that it was closing. There was no negative tone to it. There was no so anyway, but one of the things that I love about Facebook, and I say this, I love it, when people will post something and then people will comment on it and they're like, well, I didn't really care. Like, I just wanted to post it, but I didn't really care what your opinion was. So the general gist is I'm going to give my opinion, and then nobody else's opinion matters. And they'll even say, like, I posted on my page, and it's like, so you just want to say this, you just want to get it off your chest, but you don't want to hear what anyone else has to get off their chest after you just struck a nerve. That always cracks me up. Like, if you don't, Charlie's right. If you don't want to hear back from people, then don't post it. If you don't, if you stand up and criticize somebody and they criticize back, like, you better be ready for it. So anyway, but again, back to the whole thing about Leo's, nothing of it was critical. It was just news.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's over. At least that's not what it sounds like. So we'll see where it goes. It is what it is. I feel bad that I don't feel bad that someone thinks badly. Like, when you're in a business, you're never going to get 100% approval. It's just not. It's never going to be realistic. I do feel bad, though, because I sincerely thought we had a genuine time. It felt as if we had not like built a relationship, but like you said, like, we've only had a handful of people on the show. I thought he enjoyed himself. I thought it went well. I thought we gave him a good platform. I thought we gave him an opportunity. And now, I don't know. I woke up Monday morning and all of that was gone. So I don't know.
Maybe we should see. I thought yesterday with Jamie Flick went well. Maybe we should call Jamie. Maybe he's angry too. He
might turn on us next Monday. Is that what's about to happen?
Maybe next Monday he is. Yes. Maybe he's tearing us down. I don't know.
Was there anything trending topic wise? Was there anything going on in the world that it's not a slow news day necessarily, but some of the broader topics we've already been hitting a lot of this stuff. Uvalde's kind of back up and trending again. We've already talked about guns. We've talked about Roe versus Wade. So I don't know. I didn't know if there was anything that you had seen recently that kind of tickled your fancy. And it's okay if there isn't.
No, I was thinking, well, like I told you, the big news in my world yesterday was Canada is out of the NHL playoffs. So I am done. There's a lot of sports things going on for me, but I don't really have. What did you have trending that you wanted to talk about besides the NBA finals?
This isn't major news. I did finally see Top Gun. I sent you a picture of my movie ticket and my drink receipt. I went to the AMC theater, which I enjoyed. I really, really enjoyed the AMC theater. But my movie ticket was $5 and change. My drink receipt, I think, was $6.04, I think, for my regular size drink. So my regular size soda was more expensive than my movie ticket to go see Top Gun on Saturday.
Well, I think it's been one of the debates forever. Isn't this how the business works? We should have Jerry on to talk about this because he would know. Doesn't the movie house make essentially nothing off the tickets, that everything they make is off concessions? Isn't that why everything's so jacked up?
I would assume that the margins they make off of the soda and the food significantly outweighs the price of the ticket. That I would agree with. Why that's the model or why that's what they do, I don't know enough to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not sure.
It's like, have you ever talked to people who either run concert venues or just know that one of the things, the bigger the act, when Bruce Springsteen, wants to play, I was going to say the Spectrum's not here in Madison Square Garden. He gets way more of the ticket cut than other people, because there's some people that, it's just the prestige of making the Garden or of playing the Garden. And then some people they know what they're going to get in parking. They know what they're going to get in concessions, and it's worthwhile to them. So yeah, it surprised me that it was worth more. I don't know. How did you get it? Because you went on a matinee? Is that why it was so cheap for your ticket?
I think it's because I went at noon. And so I think my price was a little bit lower. I think part of it too, like if you've been to Knoebels, like I went to Knoebels once already. The genius of Knoebels is that they just get you into the park, right?
Yes.
It costs $0 to walk in there. And they're just banking on the idea that like once you are in there, you're going to smell the food, you're going to get thirsty, you're going to want to go on a ride. And so that model makes a ton of sense. I do think movie theaters may have figured out that even if the margin on the ticket itself is so low, the lower it is, the more likely people are to come to the theater. And we just need people to come to the theater. And if that means taking a ridiculously low margin on the ticket, we'll try to make it up on the back end as with popcorn sales and soda sales and that kind of stuff. So I mean, from that aspect, I totally get that model. But when I walked in there, I never would have imagined that my soda was going to be more than my ticket.
Okay, so you watched the movie, and then I do have a topic that I want to talk to, and I'm going to write it down here so I don't forget. You got into the movie a little bit, and you were worried that you were going to be the first red-blooded American male who did not like the new Top Gun.
So this was my fear. So the opening, can we say spoilers? Maybe some spoilers. I don't think I'm going to give it away, but just, if you're worried, earmuff it. I don't think I'm going to give anything away. Early in the movie, at the very beginning, there is like a high action sequence. Right. And so the first 10 minutes, I'm like, this is where we're starting. I mean, this is going to be ridiculous. Then it immediately takes you, and essentially what the movie does is it has to set up its cast, because a lot of the cast is new. You've never met them. There's no background. There's no reason you should be rooting for these people or know who they are. So there is this bar scene that's probably 12 minutes or so long. And as I'm watching this bar scene, there is a sense of cheesiness to it. The writing isn't necessarily great, the way they're introducing the characters, but they got to figure out a way to introduce you to these people.
They have to introduce the characters, yes.
So there's a lot of saying names when you would never actually say names. There's a lot of awkward introductions. There's a lot of like across the room hollering, and it's a very awkward, cheesy scene. And so the scene's ending, and they're playing a piano and singing a song. And it is a little like, I just wasn't prepared for like a Miles Teller mustache sitting at a piano playing this specific song and everyone singing along to it. And after that 12 minutes, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be the only person in America who hates this movie. Because I was like 12 minutes in, I was like, this is really cheesy. Like, this is rough. Now, after that bar scene, the movie is very, very redeemable. I loved it. The action is incredible. I absolutely, the back end of the movie is great. Really, really good. And also the comedic timing in this movie, like when they decide to like make jokes, and it's really well done. So I ended up really enjoying the movie. I was nervous. 20 minutes into the movie, I was nervous. I thought I was going to be the first person to dislike Top Gun.
When Miles Teller was at the piano, the fact that you didn't like that says a lot about you.
I think you didn't find it don't be weird and don't like try to. No part of you, if you were writing that script and you would have handed it off to me and you and I sat down, I think you and I would have very easily been able to talk ourselves into the idea that this bar scene's a little cheesy. I think that's very fair.
Okay, to take this into parts, it happens a lot when I'm watching shows and you hear somebody say something and you're just like, no one would ever talk like that in real life, but they had to say the person's name, or there was information they had to say out loud. But in a conversation, we could live our whole lives and we'll never no one talks like that. So yes. I do get that. And you're right. They did it in a bar where we got to meet all the players, and because everybody but Maverick and Iceman were new. Everybody. Sure. So, and they had to do it early. And yeah, it was fun and light and cheesy. It was not nearly as cool as the You Lost That Lovin' Feeling bar scene from the first one with you have to what did he say? Carnal relations of a female on the premises. That was the chat. Like the bar scene in the original was brilliant. This one, yes, there was a little hokiness to it, but I can't believe the piano scene. I loved. I would have been very proud to write that part. I can't believe you didn't.
I don't know. I didn't love it. Charlie said, so Jeff, what do you rate it 1 through 10, 10 being the best? I thought it was just a really, really good summer blockbuster. I would certainly give it like an 8, 8.5. Like I really, really enjoy. And again, this is coming from like, I'm not a Tom Cruise fanatic. I'm not like an action movie junkie necessarily. So for me you're not
a Scientologist.
I'm not a Scientologist. So for me to like, when I give out like an 8.5, I'm giving out an 8.5 in the sense of like, this is not necessarily like this wasn't a movie I was like excited to necessarily see. So yeah, I would give it an 8.5, and that's a strong like 8.5. Really, really enjoyed it. What else do you got for us? You said you had one more thing.
Yeah. Well, speaking of when we were talking about money and Top Gun, and then I was thinking about, my daughter told me this. Have you started into Stranger Things or no?
So we watched the first 2 seasons. I have not started any of the new season.
Okay. My daughter told me they're now season 4, and we have watched, I'm going to say 4 episodes. I guess she said they've dropped 7, and then like starting July 1st, they're going to drop 7 more.
Yeah.
She'd heard. So this is all that I'm going off of. This is pure. Each episode costs something like $30 million. Is that possible?
Oh, so I haven't heard about I've not heard anything about the finances behind Stranger Things as far as like per episode. I can tell you though, that is completely believable. The Game of Thrones finances were out of this world. So it would not shock me at all that some of these episodes are like 20, 30, 40 million. Not at all.
Okay. And it is. I mean, there are effects everywhere just because of what it's about and because there's the science fiction element that comes along with it. So you haven't seen the new season yet, and it never really hit me until this one with the kid characters. Whenever you have kid actors, there's always a little hit or miss. I like the Stranger Things, and now that the kids are way older than they were before, it is certainly they've grown up a little bit, so they're not really kids anymore. The redheaded girl, her name's Max. I don't know what her real name is. Like last night, it finally hit me. This kid is really, really good. Like, so as far as the acting goes, and I think we're halfway through. I think we did episode 4 last night. As far as like the characters, I like Dustin, and he's like the funny one. He's the chubby kid he's a riot. But I think Max is the most talented of the thespians, if you will, just from a pure acting. She had really tough scenes last night, and I was impressed. But so far into it, I know the first episode did not really blow anyone away. This time, at least the people I've talked to. But since then, it has got increasingly good, and I am riveted again. I think it's great.
Well, one of the things, because I agree with what you're saying, one of the things that I read about, they nailed the casting when they first did this. And I'm not breaking any news. Like, I'm not saying anything that's incredibly profound by saying that. But I think the reason it matters, there was someone who compared it to E.T. And the reason they compared it to E.T., E.T., I don't know if you've ever seen the early videos, like when they were casting for E.T. and they were casting for Elliot's part. And he comes in and like this kid doing it, Elliot, like for the first time. And he's like crying, and it's like, oh my God, like this is the greatest acting I've ever seen. And it's coming from like this 8-year-old kid. And so their whole point is E.T. worked because Elliot worked. And if Elliot doesn't work, is E.T. this phenomenon? Maybe not. And so that's their whole point with Stranger Things is like, obviously the story is fun. Obviously the nostalgia of going back to that time period is fun. But really the reason this works is these kids have been so incredible from start to finish. And I couldn't have agreed with that take more.
I think I have seen the raw footage of Elliot's audition or casting call.
It's incredible.
And incredible. It was just like, all right, kid, go. And he was just, I have seen it somewhere. I was going to say something as you were babbling about that. There's a guy, and I can't think of his name.
Don't hurt you.
The bad guy that go back in time. Anyway, he, the guy that they're going to find, it's Robert Englund. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, Robert Englund was Freddy Krueger. So when I saw the credits, there's a guy, and you'll know him when you see him, and I can't think of his name. And I just watched it last night, and I should. But when I saw the credits roll, I said to my daughter, that's the guy who played Freddy Krueger all those years ago. So he has been a horror movie. Obviously, he's a legend. He's been in a lot of things. But, yeah, so I really liked the way they tied that in. I thought that was kind of clever.
Yeah, no, really well done. I'm excited to watch it. Can we wrap up with a little bit of finals?
Absolutely.
Have you watched it at all?
I watched a lot of game one.
Okay.
I kind of knew that this is just, it's one of those where you're like, after you knew, like, I think we should have taken every dime that we could have had. We should have knocked off convenience stores. And in game two, we should have put it all on Golden State. There was no way they were losing 2 games at home. No way. And they won game 2 by 20.
See, it's funny because I think you and I would have been in the minority. I think most people, I was blown away because most of game one, I felt like the Warriors were in control. But then if you went and you read and you listened to podcasts on like ESPN and Fox Sports and all these different things, everybody felt like it was Boston's game. And I never felt that way. Like even after they won and they had that ridiculous fourth quarter, I still felt like Golden State was better. And I feel like I'm the only person in America that feels like Golden State is the better team.
I had a guy explain this to me once, and it was about the NFL, and it's why the people, the prognosticator, or not the prognosticator, it's why the talking heads on TV suck and all. It's a zigzag league, and it's a zigzag sport, especially when you get even teams. And it's just what you just saw last week is not necessarily what you're going to see again. And especially whether you're home and road, whether when teams have abnormally bad shooting nights, abnormally good shooting nights, like there's a reason that Golden State won all those games. It's because they don't struggle. And I think at the end of the game one, they only played bad in the fourth quarter. Like they got beat up in the fourth quarter. But so it's going to be interesting to see how they adjust back. And you've talked about from a strategy wise how the series changes so much that when you look at game 4, it doesn't look anything like game 1, except
even game 1 and game 2, like they already did that. Like game 1 and game 2 looked nothing alike.
And one of the advantages as the team that lost is if you're the team that won, then you're not changing anything because you just won.
It's hard.
So now you're trying to guess, well, what are they going to do? Are they going to just kind of keep it mostly the same and just try to tweak and do better? Or
the hard part is you're not guessing. It's you have no choice but to wait to see if what they do works.
Well,
so you're kind of pigeonholed into like it's hard to change something when you don't even know if the counter from the other team is going to work yet. So I agree 100% with what you're saying. It's hard to be the winning team.
So listen, like it's going to go back home, get back to Boston, and Boston obviously is in the Garden, and the advantage after 4 games of this series, it's going to be 2-2.
You think so?
Whatever happens in game 3, it's going to be 2-2. Then the question is, does it get ended in 6 or 7? But this is not like there is no way Golden State's going to Boston and just playing like garbage. They're just
wow. Okay, so I have one diehard Boston Celtics fan in my life, and I was texting with him, and I said to him, like, you're 1 quarter away from being down 2-0. And by the way, like, that quarter was like an anomaly. Like, they won 40-13. They had Al Horford hit 6 threes. Like, it was like, it's not like they won that quarter playing Boston Celtic basketball. Like, they won that quarter because, like, of a freak quarter. So I don't know. Like, what I'm seeing with my eyes, I still think Golden State's winning in 6. Maybe they still win in 5 because I think Golden State's won 6 out of 8, maybe 7 out of 8 quarters so far. I don't think it's been as competitive as people think it's been.
I wouldn't bet on Boston.
Okay.
And it's funny too because I was going to say there have been some series that Boston's been in that they've thrown up some clunkers. Like they've lost by double figures by 20 many times. I say many, multiple times this playoff run. But then again, one game Golden State was down 52. So, I don't know. I think I would not bet on Boston at this point. I'm with you. I would not bet on Boston, but I don't think like Golden State ain't winning it in 5. Like Boston's got more wins coming their way. But
no, I agree. I think we'd be in the minority though. Can I last thing before we go today? Big showdown this week. Our wiffle ball team. Do you want to guess who we're playing this week?
The Mets.
We are playing Joe's Pizza. Any advice for us?
Okay. Well, give me a scouting report. What do you know about Joe's?
I know it's East End or West End. That's the question.
Well, it could be blended. They could be both.
Could be a blended roster. That's true.
They could be East Coast, West Coast. They could be that could be good.
Coming together. So it'll be interesting.
Here would be my thing. My wiffle ball advice. When you're up to bat, don't try to do too much. Don't try to hit it. Don't try to hit it over the neighbor's house. Just try to hit it hard. On defense, any out is a good out. You don't need to be spectacular. You just want to, because I'm guessing in wiffle ball there's offense.
I would imagine there's more hits than not. I think it's going to come down to pitching, though, because if you're allowed to fast pitch and you get people who know what they're doing, it's incredibly difficult.
Yes. If you can bring it and you can throw it whatever you want, then yeah. So I have a stupid little tidbit for you too that no one will care about, but you'll find it interesting.
Let's hear it.
So when Matorza won, they're supposed to play Thursday, but Thursday's graduation day. So of course everyone's asking me in the crowd, what are we going to do about this this playoff game? And actually, when I was in high school, we had a state playoff game on the day of graduation. They just moved it up to noon, and we were in Bowman Field. So we played the same day of graduation. As it turns out, the team that we're playing, and I don't even know who it is. It was texted to me this morning. Their graduation is Thursday as well. So both teams agreed to move it to Friday. So the game moves to Friday, which is kind of no big deal, other than the fact that because of the rules now, both teams' starting pitcher is eligible to come back again. So because of graduation, it just changed, because if they'd have played Thursday, neither of them, they would have both had to use another pitcher. Now they go to Friday, they have the option to bring back. So a little where you're like, who cares if you play Thursday or Friday? At the end of the day, it may mean a lot. So could be a good break or a bad break for either Matoursville or their opponent.
Do you think baseball should be especially high school baseball? I recognize other sports, you can't do this. Shouldn't high school baseball go to a football model where you can only play so many games a week? If baseball went to a model where it was Tuesday, Friday, or it was Wednesday, Saturday, and now the rotations were set and you knew one pitcher wasn't going to get to pitch more than another team's pitcher because they might play 4 games in a week and another team might play 2. Wouldn't it make sense for high school baseball to go to some type of structure like that?
They try. When the schedule comes out, it's like that. But then with rainouts, it
gets messy.
It gets jammed up. And then with limited umpires and field availabilities, they have to jam them in. And you get teams that are playing 4 games in a week. So pitching depth is vital in the regular season.
As a non-baseball guy, I would be curious if you told teams we're going double headers and you're playing twice a week. I'm curious if coaches would be happy or if coaches would not like that.
The issue with double headers, a weekday double header, you'd be getting the kids out of school at noon. And that would be the problem.
But we get kids out of school. I don't know. Anytime that's the thing, anytime the thing is the kids would have to kids get pulled out for have to go to the auditorium. They get pulled out for meetings. They get pulled out for dentists. The whole athletes getting pulled out of school thing is so overblown. It's crazy.
Well, it is, but it's not, because in baseball season. So if you pull them out 7, 8, 10 times throughout the year, and now you've got a kid who in a month span missed his afternoon class 8 times.
Is this because most fields don't have lights?
Yes.
So there you go. So listen, there was a time where nobody played football at night. Now you almost can't play a game that's not at night. So I'm just saying, there will come a day baseball probably needs lights. And then I think it's a real thing to ask about. I do think coaches would like it.
The football revenue changes that, because obviously they draw more people at night.
Maybe baseball would actually get revenue. Maybe you could actually have a format where baseball would generate revenue. There's a concept. What an idea.
It would be harder. It would be way
I
harder.
agree. I totally agree. It would be harder. I don't know. The irony of what football, the spring sports are so weird to me because it's almost like they don't play by the same. They don't have any of the aspects of fall and winter. Like fall and winter, like there's revenue generated and they're building up the space. And then like spring, it's just kind of like people throw their hands up and it's like, we can't possibly generate revenue for this. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like we do it for the other sports seasons. It doesn't
It's
even
hard.
seem to me.
It's hard because a lot of places, like you'll know, like with high school football fields, some schools where you don't have to go in, like you can stand outside and watch for free.
Totally.
And a lot of baseball and softball fields are like that. You can park
totally
across the street. So, actually, yesterday we played at Wilkes University. In between the right field foul pole and center field was a parking lot. Yep. And if I would have known, you could have parked, you could have brought your chair, you could have sat there and watched for free. But to sit anywhere else or to come inside, it was $6 or $8 or whatever it was. So. Yeah. It's really hard, and there's stadiums. Loyalsock has it, Montoursville has it, Williamsport has it. There are places south of Williamsport where you can watch the football game for free, if you just go. But at a football game, because it's Friday night, because it's such an event, there's so many people in. You're kind of paying for the social atmosphere to go talk to all the people, and it's a couple bucks and it's worth it. And you can get concessions, you can get a bathroom because the game lasts that long. Baseball and softball, I'm not sure if it would be really, really hard to get the people to pay. And, there aren't that many people there. I think it'd be more hassle than it was worth.
Do you think more people would go to a football game if they didn't have to pay?
Do I think more people would go? No.
Okay. Do you think more people would go to a basketball game if they didn't have to pay?
No.
See, I disagree. I think for a lot of sports programs, especially if you're a team that's struggling or if you're a team that, you're having a bad year, whatever it is, I think your attendance would go up if they didn't have to pay for it.
So you think there are people, especially from a kid's standpoint, you think there are kids that have either bad basketball team, bad wrestling team, bad whatever, and they're like, hey, we should go to the game tonight, but it's going to cost me $3?
I do. I think there's grown adults that do that. You don't think there's grown adults that are like, I'm not going to pay $4 to $6 to go watch, a 80 to 40 game we're going to lose. You don't think there's grown adults that say that?
Yes, but I think those same grown adults wouldn't say, well, I'll go watch it for free. Like they're not going because it's going to be a waste of their time and unentertaining, not because of the money.
Interesting. I don't know. It's funny. Like the irony to me is not that everything you're saying is correct, but nothing you say explains why it is the way it is. Like everything that you said is yes, that's why it is, but nothing you said deters me from thinking we shouldn't generate revenue for the spring sports.
Well, I'll say this. One of the reasons they play at Central Columbia, well, there's two reasons. Number one, they have lights. But number two, because of where the field is located, behind the schools, between the river, and there's like this way in and this way in, and they stop your car way away from the field, like a quarter mile from the field, and say, we need to see your ticket. Yeah. Because it's really, really hard to sneak in to Central Columbia's field, where you got all these other, when you look at where baseball fields are, to say, well, how are we going to man the perimeter? It's tough.
I think that's the point I'm making is like somehow spring sports it's just like a given. Like, it's just like, well, it's a baseball field. People just come watch. And I as like a weird person, I don't get that aspect because like growing up as a winter sports kid and a fall sports kid, the idea that like that wasn't taken into consideration, like the idea that wasn't part of the plan or part of the design blows my mind. It doesn't make sense.
Because you can't see the basketball court from the parking lot.
I understand that, but football's a huge field and they figure out how to do it. So like...
Well, it kind of depends where you're at and where.
I can't imagine that there's not a challenge I can't imagine that any challenge you would face creating a football field that you have to pay to get into wouldn't be very similar conversations to creating a baseball or softball field. It would be, I feel like the conversations would be very similar.
I mean, I'm sure at every high school football field, there are people who consistently go for free and stand on the street or at the end or on a hill or wherever
Totally.
so they can watch for free. But there aren't very many of them because there
I'm not
isn't.
saying it's perfect. Like, I'm not saying it's a perfect system. What I'm saying, though, is like, for whatever reason, we just, of spring sports, just go for it. Like, just whatever. And I don't understand.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think one of the other things is, as we've gotten way off time, that spring sports, one of the issues about both, track, softball, baseball, because it's spring, because there's little kids events like AYSO soccer games and Little League games and ASA softball games and stuff. I see lots of kids at high school baseball games and at track meets in their uniform, and they're there for 2 innings or 3 innings, and then they have to go.
Sure.
Or big brother's playing here, little brother's got to be at this field, so mom and dad. So more than basketball, more than wrestling, and more than football, I see people who grab an inning of the game or 2 innings of the game, or the other way, because it starts so early, by the time people get home from work, they've already missed the first 4 innings.
But don't you think they do that because it's free? I feel like people would do that in the fall and the winter if it was free. I do think there are people that would stop by. I do because, like, since I'm a coach, I just kind of walk in. So, like, I'll go check out a quarter of, like, some random junior high girls basketball game because, like, I can. Because it doesn't, like, it's free to me, so I can just go in. So I feel like people do that in baseball and track and stuff because they can do that.
Well, yes, but like at football, you could do it at halftime. They don't charge the whole game. So
sure. And there are people that come after halftime. 100%. There are people that will wait until after halftime and come.
Absolutely. I don't think there are many, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't think there are many adults that say, I would love to go to the high school football game, but it's $4, so I'm not going to go. But I would go if it was free. Now, I think there are lots of people, as you said, who I'm not going to go if it's going to be a blowout, or even more people who are like, I'm not going to go if it's too cold or if it's going to rain or, it's going to be uncomfortable. But I don't think I don't think.
You're a baseball fan. I mean, you're a sports fan, but you're a baseball fan. I would imagine if the roles were reversed and there was some sport in the fall, like if there was like outdoor, I don't even know, if there was like outdoor curling and you went to go watch it in the fall and they didn't have to create a revenue, but you did, I feel like you would be like, well, this makes no sense. Why aren't they like, I don't understand it. Like there's no capacity where this is going to make sense to me. So
I will say this, and I've wondered this with Major League Baseball, as you were talking about baseball, why they don't have, and maybe some teams do it already and I just don't know, why a team like the Pirates or a team like the Orioles or Kansas City or Detroit, or teams that aren't very good, that are struggling, why they don't have like one game a month where it's like, for every adult that buys a ticket, you can bring 3 kids 14 and under. And just to fill the stadium, even though, again, 3/4 of the stadium is going to be people that got in for free. As you said, at least it draws interest. At least it draws concession revenue. Or maybe even just the adult gets in free too. If you bring 3 kids with you, 14 or under, you get a free ticket and everybody's free. I can't, but even if they did it once a month, even if they did it twice a year, once before do it in the summer when school's out, or maybe do it in April on a Thursday night when nobody's going to go. I don't know. But I agree with you. Just like you said 20 minutes ago about the movie theater, just getting the people in. I'm surprised that Major League Baseball, because there are so many, there are 81 home games. Like there are so many Tuesday night games where attendance is just like whatever. Like, don't do it on Sunday or Saturday when people are going, but do it on a Monday night or Tuesday night. I'm surprised more people don't.
No, I agree with you on that one. Yeah, this Leo's Pizza thing is not going away. It's pretty great. I don't know. I don't know. Apparently he posted another thing. So maybe we'll talk about it again tomorrow. We'll see. I mean, I say we reach out to him and tell him to, put his money where his mouth is. Like, come on the show and defend it. Come on the show and talk about it.
What did he? It doesn't matter. It's just, again.
Listen, this is, by the way, this is all like you and like, there's no animosity necessarily on our side. Like I can tell you right now from our end of things, it is bitter confusion as to like whatever ended up in his Cheerios Monday morning. I can assure you it wasn't North Central PA's fault. I can assure you it's nothing that you or I did. Like, it's just bitter confusion on this end. So that's why I'm curious by the whole thing.
But hey, let's be honest. We spent a lot of our life being confused. So
that's an understatement. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPA.com for all your local news.
I have one more. Is Game 3 tonight?
I think it's tomorrow because I think they're traveling. I could be wrong. Let me look real quick. I thought because they traveled, I thought they had the extra day off. Yeah, tomorrow at 9 p.m.
So it's Wednesday, Friday, Sunday.
Maybe. I'll have to look.
Yeah, that would make sense. Because the NBA is a Friday night sport.
Yeah, but it doesn't, though, because Game 7's on a Thursday. I already looked. So that would be Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. Is that what it is then? You think they're going – that doesn't make sense, though. Like, maybe. The Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, the game on, game off, game on, game off, after starting the series – game off, game off, game off, game off, game. I can't imagine they're going to do that on the back end of the series. It doesn't make sense.
I agree with that. But they can't drag it out 2 more weeks. They have 5 games left.
They're going, I'm looking at it right now. So they are going to go, Game 3 is tomorrow. They're going to go Game 4 Friday. So they're going one night off between Wednesday and Friday. Then they get
play Sunday.
Then they get the weekend off. Then they're going to go Monday, night off, Thursday, night off, Sunday. So they're taking even more time than what I thought to like do.
Okay, so they have it set up that they have Game 6 on Thursday, and if it goes to a Game 7, it'll be prime time Sunday night. It'll be just like Sunday Night Football, except it'll be Sunday night NBA Game 7. You can't do any bet that. Okay, that makes sense. I rubber stamp that idea.
Did you see someone posted, and then we have to end the show. Someone posted about the average playoff game for football versus the average playoff game for basketball. Did you see this at all?
The average what?
TV, the average audience.
Okay.
The average TV audience and for football, and I think it was 5 times higher. The highest televised football game was 5 times higher than the highest televised NBA playoff game so far.
Okay.
But here's the funny part though. Like, I dug into it and I looked to see what the average TV audience was for an NFL playoff game and an average TV audience for an NBA playoff game was, and the viewership almost equals out because a football game is 1. It is the series for a football playoff matchup is 1, whereas basketball, it bounces out and you have these series that go 4, 5, 6, 7 games. And so I actually tallied it up. The basketball viewership for the NBA playoffs this past year was actually higher than the NFL playoff viewership. So I'm not saying that the NBA is better than the NFL. I'm not saying it's bigger than the NFL. I'm just simply saying though, when you actually dive into some of the numbers, it's closer than what people would ever imagine.
Because of the scarcity of it, yes. I had a guy tell me once back when I was doing our radio show in Baltimore, and he was a big point spread guy, and he was this, and he said, at least at the time, he's like, the biggest bet upon sport is, and we were like, well, it's football, of course. He's like, no. And we're like, it must be basketball then. He's like, no, it's baseball because there's 162 games. And so it's that's why attendance, that you attend the baseball teams will draw 3 million people. Now, post-COVID, I don't know if they are, but they were drawing 3 million people. The Colorado Rockies drew like 4 million people one game. They're like the Denver Broncos can't draw 4 million people. They only have 8 home games. So yes, there is a lot to be said for that. And one of the other things about NFL football, you don't have 2 playoff games at the same time, like because of the structure of it. When you're playing, you're playing. So there's not. So I agree with that, but it is football. It's just different. It's weekend. It's winter. It's kind of set up for TV a little more. Now that it's getting warm out, there's just times you can't be in front of the television for a 8 o'clock tip off. You might get there for the second half. You might get there later, but anyway, be that as it may.
Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news. Anything else?
Nope.
I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. We'll be back tomorrow to bring more cheer and good news.
And I love pizza.